What's going on, you guys? Back again with another video. As you can see behind me today, we're going to be working on my 2018 Toyota Tacoma, and we're going to continue on with this, what I like to call the taco facelift project. Obviously nothing much has been done to it yet, but with that being said, what comes along with this facelift is going to be a lot more lights than I already have. As some of you guys know, those of you guys that have been around for a while, you know I have my light bar on the Prinzy roof rack, my ditch lights. I got a light bar here behind the bumper, and then another light bar down here below this lower bumper. With that being said, what that means is this facelift is going to bring a couple more lights to the truck, which just means a lot more wires, a lot more harnesses, a lot more fuses, and a lot more relays. So it's kind of a mess under there right now. So what we're going to be doing in today's video to kind of prep for that, and in the progress, I guess, or process of making this facelift, I'm going to be installing the Switch Pros SP9100, the 8-panel switch inside. So I'm going to go ahead and crack open this hood, show you guys what it looks like right now. And first things first, before I even dive into that install, I got to clean up all these wires, take all this old stuff out, take all these relays out, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, you guys, as you can see, this is what the engine bay currently looks like. As you can see, I have all these little red wires running to the battery, all these little relays here. Relay mount there, all these grounding points, and then all this crazy wiring down here. I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, but there is quite a bit of stuff going on in here. I've done pretty well at being able to tuck a lot of this stuff away, but we're gonna make this look a lot cleaner. We're gonna change out the current setup I have, which for right now for all my lights is just this Cali raised LED switches, along with the Cali raised little panel that you replace this little coin holder or whatever this pocket usually is with a little metal plate that gives you the openings for these three. So we're going to get rid of all this stuff, get it all out the way, and then we'll pick it up once we are 100% clean and pretty much back to stock under here. Alright, you guys, so I'm currently doing a little bit of back work before I continue the install. I know this is a install for the SP9100s, but I got to do a little bit of back work. By that, I need to solder some more extensions to this wire, since now I'm getting rid of all that relay that's there on the ground. All I need to do is solder some red wire, a ground wire to ground it out, because now the SP9100s, the Switch Pros, just needs the hot lead to go to its mounting location, which is here. Now, before I continue, I'm going to continue doing all this little side work, but the next project my brother's going to try to tackle, just to kind of jump ahead of it, is the panel. So this panel goes here, right? This is the stock OEM panel. Normally, you have a little coin tray in here, which is screwed on by 4 little screws there for the coin tray. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, or my brother's going to do, I should say, as you can see, the Switch Pro itself has a little lip. Alright, so what we're going to go ahead and try to do is Dremel this out a little bit, make more room so this sits up flush up against it. Now when you buy your Switch Pros, the kit actually comes with like this little metal bar, these all threaded studs, and then some lock nuts. Is make this hole bigger and then be able to mount the bracket or this metal bar to kind of hold it in place to the OEM holes where the screws go. Now, I know SDHQ has its own little panel. They sell a panel that's already cut out perfectly for this, and it's a nice little system, but it's also over $100, which I just didn't want to spend on that. I feel like I can do this by ourselves and make it work and look nice. So we're going to go ahead. He's going to tackle this and working on dremeling this out and making this all work while I solder up some wires. Once we're done with this and soldering, I'll go ahead and continue the actual install of the Switch Pros. Alright, you guys, so I'm working on mounting the motherboard of pretty much the whole system onto the new SDHQ mounting bracket that I got from that website or company. Basically, what's going on over here on this other side is my brother's still working on this panel. As you can see, he got it in there nice and flush already. Now he's just working on finding out a way to use those metal brackets that came with this kit to mount it to the OEM holes that are there for that little coin base. So he's working on that. That's coming along nicely. Next, basically what I'm going to do is just follow instructions. This mounts here with just a couple hardwares, nuts, washers, bolts, and then underneath the engine bay we do have some wire harnesses to move along. which they even send you these wire looms to relocate them to give yourself some more room. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this all together, and then we'll go over to the truck. There we go. Alright you guys, so just so you are aware, the reason why it is mounted vertically like this is per Switch Pros. I guess it's one of their warranty deals where if you want to keep the warranty on this thing, they suggest you mount it vertically. And from my understanding, it's because when you plug the wire harnesses into these, you don't want to have it facing straight up just in case water were to get into them. It is waterproof from my understanding, but just to avoid anything possibly leaking in, they want you to mount it that way up on the truck. So as you can see, I got the two bolts mounted here. These will go through there on the stock location on the truck, and that's pretty much it. Alright you guys, so looking under the engine bay here, as you can see, we're looking just behind the battery. This is where you want to relocate these two wire looms there. It's kind of dark and tight in here to show you, but you can see that little plastic, I guess, wire loom holder or pin. You need to cut that off, and then you use provided brackets that come with the kit. These here, and they give you a bolt hardware and nut to basically use the same bolt, put each one of these around those, and then you relocate them. If you look underneath the truck, that little plastic push pin there, that's what you're looking up top. So that's where the bolt's going to come out of, and you're going to put a washer and lock nut underneath. It's kind of hard to do it with one hand, so I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll show you guys when it's done. Alright you guys, as you guys see, I got the SDHQ bracket in place, mounted. One thing I will point out is behind the mounting screws, there are these little black spacers that you got to put in place. And if I didn't say it already, those hoses that are there, they are threaded, and they are there from factory. I got those two wire looms relocated there, and then I also got the provided red power wire from the Switch Pros already mounted and bolted down. Pretty cool. They give you a little red cover to cover the bolt and nut and mounting post, and then the wire just loops around and it'll connect to the battery there. Alright you guys, so as you can see, here is the actual panel mounted in with the OEM little cubby that we had there, sitting nice and flush. And you can see what he did in the back. He kind of just took the metal brackets that came with this Pros already, or with the Switch, and then just mounted it with its own hardware. Used a little bit of the OEM hardware, and it's nice and snug in place. There you go. Just saved myself, what, 130, 40 bucks? Not too bad. So now we're going to go ahead and continue. I think we're pretty much at the point where we start running wires and start doing the wiring part of it. Alright you guys, so I got everything pretty much kind of set up how I want it. I still have all these other wires, like the wires for my ditch lights, the wires for my light bar up top, to solder and really figure out the length. As you can see, these are long as hell, so I'm about to cut these. But first I want to finish up kind of running the wire harness. So now this wire harness is actually to go inside and straight to the control module and the panel inside. Once I get this connected, then we can go put everything back together inside the truck. So I'm gonna run this next. Alright you guys, as you can see, I got my wire for the actual remote panel inside already. I do have a bunch of extra in here, but I'm gonna try to roll it up and tuck it away under here, underneath the carpet. I'd rather have the bundle in here, not visible, than visible underneath the engine bay. So basically all we're gonna do, get our new panel, everything's nice, snug, and secure, it's not going anywhere, and just kind of start plugging in the OEM plugs, which are all pretty much color coded and size coded, like so, and then grab our connection for our new Switch Pros, like that, and now we're ready to just snap it back into place. There you go, just like that. So now we're going to bundle all this up, make this look nice, and then we're going to move forward and now really start diving into the actual wiring that we need to do for all this to light up and work properly. Alright you guys, so I got my directions here. One of the main wires of this harness is this blue wire, which is the ignition wire, which is basically going to tell the whole panel inside to light up. Now it does have to be a 12 volt source, and it has to be like an ignition or accessory, which from the research that I've done and videos that I've looked up, and I actually found a really good video I don't remember the guy's name. It was John T something. I'll probably link his video down below just because he did such a good job at showing this whole process. Maybe even a little bit better than I am. But he found a really good spot for this blue wire, which is inside the cab. So that's another one that I need to run into there. According to him and the research that he did not find any accessory wire on this panel box outside. Every single one that he found out here, I believe he said was a hot wire or 12 volt hot at all times. So go ahead and break this up. And they do give you a whole bunch of wire here, but I mean, obviously I'm gonna cut some of this down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just plug it in, just to keep it from moving around on me. Make sure that I plug this in the right way. Like so. Now I'm gonna find my blue wire, which there is a light blue here, so I just want to make sure I grab the right one. Okay, so here's 2 blue. Here's a light blue. I'm assuming it's going to be this light blue. Let me dive into this wiring a little more, but just be aware, I think it is this one. I'm going to run it through, and then I'll show you where I connect it inside. Alright you guys, so it's kind of hard to show you where I'm going to get that blue wire from, or tap in that blue wire. As you can see, we're looking here underneath the little kick panel. And this plug here, thanks to John, what was his name? John T. Young. Thanks to him for finding this hot lead for us, but this is, I'm gonna tie into the exact same point that he did. This plugs into there like so, and when it plugs in, if you strip back some of this OEM black wire cover, you expose this almost like a lime green wire. There's a dark green to the left side of it and a dark green directly above it. This lime green wire is what we're gonna tap into. I went ahead and disconnected it just so it could give me a little bit of play out here. You could see that wire a little better there. And then in the kit, they actually sent these little quick taps. Basically all it is you run whatever wire you're gonna tap into, like so, squeeze it so it pierces the sheet around the wire, and then you attach this to our blue wire coming down in from the engine bay, and it'll basically just plug right in like so, making that connection. So that's exactly what we're going to do underneath the engine, or I should say underneath the dash here. So we're going to grab our green wire, try to feed this through, and you're just going to grab some needle nose pliers and you want to squeeze it down so it pierces the sheet around that green wire, and you actually hear a little click, and there you go, it's through. So now I'm gonna grab the blue wire coming in from the engine bay, and then I'm gonna grab strip off some of this sheeting to expose some of the copper, grab my crimper tool, crimp this down. Nice tight crimp. Give a little pull, it's on there tight. And now to make final connection, you see that? Make final connection. There you go. So that should be it. That should give us our 12 volt accessory to the motherboard itself. So now we're going to continue to move on to the next wire that we need to plug in the engine bay. Alright you guys, so the next wire we're focusing on coming out of our wire harness here, which also, by the way, the kit does come with this nice little black wire covering sleeve just to make it look nice and clean. I went ahead and put that on already, and then I'm also going to use just some heat shrink to kind of cover it up over here at the front of it, at the plug itself. So the next wire is this pink wire, and now what this pink wire is going to do is this is going to tell the panel to dim whenever you hit your headlights or whatever you wire it up to. I'm going to wire it up to these little side marker lights on the headlights, which is exactly what my Raptor lights are wired to. So whenever I go on the second switch above my DRL is when my Raptor lights turn on, and is also when this will tell the panel to dim. Now from my understanding on the Bluetooth app or the Bluetooth connectivity, from the app you can actually set how bright and how dim you want to set that panel whenever you kick this on. Now from my understanding,
es chicle, ese no.
Actually, I'm sorry, the white wire. The white wire is what tells it to dim. This is what you want to hook up to your headlights somewhere. And then this pink wire is actually a trigger wire, which from my understanding, if let's say I want to turn on my high beams and I want my 40-inch light bar to turn on whenever I turn on my high beams, I can attach this to the high beam, and I'm assuming set it up in the app to tell it which switches I want to trigger on with this wire. I'm not going to be using this, at least not right now, so we'll just tuck this away and cover up the top to make sure no copper is exposed. But let's go ahead and run this white wire over to my headlights, and I'll tap into it using that same style T that I did up front. Alright you guys, so I went ahead and made the connection from the white wire, find it, right here, into, like I said, the positive wire coming from our Raptor lights. So that's done, and I'm going to tuck that away and zip tie it. But now, we found out that this little black plastic piece here is mounted off to the side here with just these little pins, which actually gives you, it hides the panel like that, but it gives you all this space up under here. Now we're sitting here thinking how we're going to manage all this extra wire and where exactly we're going to make our connections from our light bars. At the same time, we're looking at where we're going to ground this. A big reasoning for this whole project is to hide all these wires. So now that we remove that little black plastic piece, we found out that it actually covers this bolt here. This bolt here is a mounting bolt for the fender onto the body itself. So we could probably ground out all of our lights here and then have it all hidden with that little beauty panel that sits in here. At the same time, we got this big wire loom coming from the switch pros or from the motherboard itself that we're thinking we're going to feed up into here, make all our connections here, that way it's tucked away nicely, and then we'll just cover it all back. And then if I ever need to add more lights, pop this panel right back off, make my connection, put it back, have it all secure. Alright you guys, so it kind of looks like a mess right now, but this is what we're going to do. It'll look a lot nicer once we're all done and have that beauty panel in place. So we went ahead and heat shrunk all the wires coming right from the plug, kind of zip tied it to this OEM wire harness back here. We're going to tuck it up and underneath that beauty panel, and I'm going to make all my connections here. I'm looking at the wiring diagram, and I actually went and wrote down all my switches and how many amperage. You got 4 switches that are 20 amp max, and then you got 4 switches that are 35 amp max. So that you need to make sure you hook up your lights to the right switch. Alright you guys, so what we got going on now is we got our 43-inch light bar on top of the Prinzu roof rack coming down, which is this red wire. And then we got our ditch lights, which is this white wire, both positive leads. What we've done is since both set of wires are coming basically from the same area, which is this corner in here, what I went ahead and did is we put both grounds together, but connected it with those marine grade heat shrinkable butt connectors into one spot. Now originally we were going to go on top of this bolt here, but my brother actually had a good idea. Since the bolt sticks out quite a bit from the underneath side, we're going to go ahead and grab a separate nut. We'll tighten this down all the way, grab a separate nut, put the ground from up underneath, after of course sanding it down, getting rid of all that paint, and then using the nut from underneath, tying down the ground. That way we're able to tuck everything away, and you absolutely won't see anything up here. Even though it's going to be covered by the beauty panel, this will just be a cleaner setup. I went ahead and got my both violets together, which if you want to run a 35 amp max switch, this is what you need to do. You connect 2 of them together, going into the positive of my 43-inch light bar. On this side, we did the both greens together to run a different switch on a 35 amp current to the positive of my 32-inch front light bar, my bumper light bar. And that's it. There's 2 other switches that can be doubled up like this, but all the other ones is going to be a single positive to positive connection. So we'll go ahead and ground this out, and then we'll pick it back up once we're all done hooking everything up. Alright you guys, so we've spent pretty much a lot of time basically wire managing. That's basically what we've been doing, tucking everything away, making sure everything's plugged up. On all the extra wires, I'll see if I can just point it out to you. All our extra wires are in there, tucked away. And on all the extra non-used wires, we just put some heat shrink on top of them to kind of cancel out and make sure that that copper on those wires isn't going to touch anything. So for now they're tucked away. Whenever we need them, they're easy to pull out and connect new lights to our ground. We ended up using that bolt that we said we would right in there. And as you can see, everything's connected. The actual Switch Pro motherboard is lit up. To the battery, all we have is the power, the positive coming from my amplifier, the positive coming from my HIDs, and then the positive coming directly from the motherboard. So as you can see, go ahead and turn off the lights. Yeah, turn these off. So when the lights are off, that is the OEM or stock brightness. Now again, once I get the app and download the app, I can adjust all this to make it not as bright. Yeah, that's always, that always comes up. Not as bright. So whenever you go on and flick the headlights on, it actually dims out. So that's what that white wire did when we hooked it up to the headlights. And now go ahead, turn on the headlights. Okay, go ahead and press your switch number 2, which we lit up to our ditch lights. Switch number 3, which was our front bumper light bar. And then finally, switch number 4. There you go. So it's all working. What's next is put stickers up on the actual switches. That way we're able to know what is what. That number 1 switch I'm holding off. That's going to be part of the facelift project that we got coming up. So that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and put this beauty panel back on. Finalize zip tying a couple wires out of the way. We're going to attach those stickers on the buttons that I actually wanted to show you guys. So I'll go do that real quick. And then once it's completely done, we'll shut the hood and I'll show you guys one last final walkthrough of this whole system. The Switch Pros do come with 2 packs. 2 packs of different style switches. Basically they're just stickers. You pull them out and you put them on whatever switch you want to do. Now they also send out some just straight black ones, which for now the buttons that the switches that I'm not using, I'm gonna go ahead and use some of these black ones on just to keep covered for now, and that way it's not blinding the hell out of me when I'm driving or during the day. The whole square isn't lit up. So for now we'll black those out, and we'll figure out which one of these we're gonna use real quick, put them on the truck, put everything back together, and I'll show you one final walkthrough. So it's a new day. Last night we just ended up finishing up the truck, cleaned everything up, tucked all the wires away, made sure everything was nice and clean and back to how it should be. I did a little bit of playing around with the app and with the switch itself, which I must say, you guys, these switches are badass, dude. So far I'm loving it. There's still a lot more in this app that I haven't really, dove into yet or really learned yet. I'm still kind of learning the whole system, but what I've gotten out of it is already so sick. So as of right now, there is the switch panel there. I went ahead and blacked out that bottom row with just the normal blackout button tapes, just because I don't have any lights there yet, but I will. So that's it there. And like I said, a pretty cool feature about this Switch Pros is the app, and you can do anything, pretty much anything that you can do on the Switch with just by pressing buttons and manually, you can do on this app. Now I know this app has pretty bad reviews for whatever reason, like on the well, for me the Google Play Store, for you iPhone guys the Apple Play Store. I'm not sure how those reviews are, but the app itself has some pretty negative reviews. But I mean, everything's working flawlessly for me. It's pretty cool. On the app itself, you can rename the lights to match how you have them named inside of the truck. So like my ditch lights, there you go. Let's try my bumper lights. There you go. My roof lights. There you go. And then if we go inside, you can actually see that they are all lit up. Now one of the cool features, or a couple of the cool features that I've already kind of learned about this system is, for one, you can dim the actual light brightness during the day as they're just the regular running lights, or or I should say, and you can also change the backlight color, red, blue, green, or white, I believe. And then you can also change the brightness of the dimming part of it. So whenever you turn your headlights on, they dim. You can either make that lighter or I'm sorry, you can make that brighter or dimmer. Overall, just a real cool system. I was reading up that there's actually a way that you can set these to flash, like an SOS strobe mode. You can do them individually. I know one of the functions is if you're camping and you have all these lights on to light up your area or whatever, whenever the battery falls below 11 volts, I believe, the lights will actually shut off. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, there's a whole lot of things that you can do with this system. I haven't personally learned them all, but I'm working on it. So far, so good. I love it. This is just one of the few steps to set up for this Tacoma facelift project that we got going on. So definitely stay tuned. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this little project so far, and we'll pick it up once the next mod arrives. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.